In the early hours of October 5, 1898, a determined group of Ojibwe warriors from the Pillager Band faced off against nearly 100 U.S. soldiers on the edge of Sugar Point. Around 11:30 a.m., hidden within the dense forest, the Ojibwe fired on the soldiers, forcing the young recruits to drop to the ground as their officers struggled to organize them into a defensive line around a nearby cabin. Known as the Battle of Sugar Point, this event is often cited as the last major Native American resistance on U.S. soil. Two primary grievances fueled this fierce confrontation. First, logging companies had been permitted to harvest timber on the Ojibwe's Leech Lake Reservation. Although they were meant to pay the Ojibwe for each piece of timber, payments were often delayed, undervalued, or misused by white Indian agents who managed these funds on behalf of the Ojibwe. Allegedly, some loggers even set fire to healthy trees to falsely claim them as deadwood, benefiting from weakened enforcement. The second issue was ongoing mistreatment by U.S. Marshals and agents. Many Ojibwe were falsely accused, rounded up, and transported to Duluth under dubious charges, subjected to an exhausting journey and a system stacked against them. The Pillager Band attempted to address these injustices by petitioning President William McKinley, urging him to investigate the abuse they endured. We, the chiefs and leaders of the Pillager Band of Chippewa, respectfully ask for a commission to examine the challenges we face, they wrote. Our people carry a heavy burden. We have always been loyal to the United States, but we fear for the survival of our people and our lands. Among those protesting was an Ojibwe elder, Begonia Guzeg, arrested in 1898 on vague charges and released without evidence. Guzeg faced a harrowing journey back to his community, walking many miles home after being forced off trains. This experience left him vowing never to be detained again. But just months later, he and his friend Shabanda Shirkong were seized again by U.S. agents. When he called out for help, his community responded, leading to a courageous act of resistance that set the stage for the confrontation at Sugar Point. In the early dawn of October 5, 1898, Ojibwe leaders Begonagashag and Shabunda managed a daring escape across Leech Lake to the secluded area of Sugar Point. Following their escape, Lieutenant Chauncey B. Humphreys led a team of 20 soldiers to Wungum, hoping to negotiate with Ojibwe representatives. However, when talks broke down, U.S. scouts reported back from nearby Bear Island that Begonagashag and his supporters refused to surrender, prompting Humphreys to call for reinforcements. Soon, Brevet Major Melville Wilkinson and General John Bacon arrived with a force of 77 soldiers from Fort Snelling, joined by marshals, Indian police, and several reporters eager to document what would become the Battle of Sugar Point. On the morning of October 5th, the soldiers set off across Leech Lake on two small steamships, arriving at Sugar Point near Begonagashag's cabin. Although they arrested two Ojibwe involved in the escape, Begonagashag and Shabunda remained elusive. As the troops searched the nearby woods, about 20 Ojibwe warriors took up concealed positions around the cabin. Tensions flared when, around 11:30 a.m., gunfire broke out. Whether initiated by a mistaken shot or by soldiers targeting a nearby canoe carrying women and a child is still debated. Regardless, the Ojibwe launched a surprise attack from the cover of the forest, catching the soldiers off guard. In the ensuing chaos, the soldiers scrambled to form defensive lines, but suffered multiple injuries, including Major Wilkinson, who was initially wounded, and later fatally shot while encouraging his troops. As darkness fell, the skirmish continued sporadically, with the Ojibwe firing intermittently throughout the night. Tragically, during the night, Officer George Russell was accidentally shot by one of his own men. By morning, the U.S. forces withdrew to Walker, bearing heavy losses, 7 dead and 19 wounded. Remarkably, the Ojibwe suffered no casualties. News of the battle at Sugar Point spread like wildfire, quickly capturing headlines and sparking sensationalized accounts that exaggerated the events. Some reports claimed a full-scale massacre had occurred, with up to 100 U.S. soldiers allegedly killed, a narrative that fueled widespread fear among settlers. With anxieties high and a perceived threat of uprisings across Native American territories, local communities and state officials reacted swiftly. The U.S. government dispatched 200 additional troops armed with a Gatling gun, one of the most advanced and intimidating weapons of the era. Meanwhile, towns like Bemidji braced for conflict, barricading their buildings, mobilizing local militias, and fortifying defenses in a show of preparedness against any imagined threat. The aftermath of Sugar Point turned national attention sharply toward Leech Lake, making it clear that the Ojibwe's grievances could no longer be ignored. In response, the U.S. government faced growing pressure to address the underlying injustices that had ignited the confrontation. Commissioner of Indian Affairs William A. Jones soon arrived on the scene, engaging in a series of intense discussions with Ojibwe tribal elders. His goal was to understand the depth of the community's frustrations and to find a path forward that respected the Ojibwe's rights and addressed their grievances. Following these talks, an agreement was reached. Some Ojibwe turned themselves in on minor warrants, yet none of the warriors who took part in the battle faced arrest, marking a unique and bloodless victory for the Ojibwe in their long history of resilience. This resolution became a powerful testament to Ojibwe's strength and a pivotal moment in their enduring fight for justice. Begonagashag, one of the central figures in the confrontation, upheld his vow never to set foot in a U.S. court or jail again. His comrade, Shabundashirkong, also remained free, while those who did surrender faced brief sentences of 2 to 6 months. Shortly afterward, they were granted a full pardon by President McKinley, symbolizing a rare moment of clemency in the often tense relations between Native American communities and the U.S. government. After the council meetings, Commissioner Jones did not hesitate to criticize local and state authorities, condemning the frequent arrests of Indians on trivial causes, often for no cause at all. He rebuked the routine practice of transporting Native people over 200 miles to Duluth or Minneapolis to stand trial, only to abandon them afterward with no means to return to their communities. Jones later noted in Washington that the Ojibwe were driven to resist by the wrongs committed against them, and that they had long endured unjust treatment. He concluded that, if given fair treatment, they would live peacefully, a sentiment he hoped would resonate with the officials and settlers of Minnesota. In the wake of the battle and the spotlight it cast on injustices, significant changes emerged. Timber management practices on the Leech Lake Reservation were reformed, with new safeguards to prevent exploitation. These changes eventually led to the establishment of the Chippewa National Forest, a protected area symbolizing a renewed commitment to preserve Ojibwe lands and resources. Begonia Guzag, or Begonagashag, continued to live peacefully in the region for another 18 years until his passing. Throughout that time, the U.S. Army never returned to the shores of Sugar Point, a lasting reminder of the Ojibwe's determined stand. This confrontation, though rooted in struggle, became an emblem of resilience and a significant step toward justice for the Ojibwe people. In Washington, reflecting on the events at Sugar Point, Commissioner William A. Jones openly acknowledged the roots of the Ojibwe's resistance. He expressed understanding, stating that the Ojibwe were prompted by the wrongs committed against them and chafed under unfair treatment. Jones recognized that decades of mistreatment, particularly in the handling of timber rights and persistent abuses by local authorities, had left the Ojibwe feeling marginalized and violated. His message was clear. The Ojibwe had been driven to defend themselves, and their firm stand had delivered a powerful message that could no longer be ignored. Jones added a vision for the future. They will now go back to their homes and live peaceably if treated fairly, a lesson the whites have learned from the stand the Indians took. His statement emphasized the Ojibwe's readiness for peaceful coexistence, but only on the condition of mutual respect and fair treatment, setting a precedent that he hoped would guide future interactions with Native communities. The aftermath of the uprising led to meaningful reforms. The management of timber resources on the Leech Lake Reservation came under increased scrutiny, and changes were implemented to protect Ojibwe lands from further exploitation by logging companies. These reforms would later evolve into the establishment of the Chippewa National Forest, a federally protected area meant to safeguard the natural resources and cultural heritage of the Ojibwe. This forest not only served as a testament to the Ojibwe's resilience, but also symbolized a newfound respect for their rights over their ancestral lands. Begonagashag, or Begonia Guzag as he was also known, continued to live peacefully on Ojibwe lands for another 18 years. He remained a respected elder within his community, a figure symbolizing both the pain of past injustices and the strength of his people's spirit. His commitment to his people's rights was unwavering until his peaceful passing, and his legacy endured as a reminder of the struggle for justice. The shores of Sugar Point, once the scene of a powerful standoff, remained untouched by the U.S. Army in the years that followed. The absence of military presence after the confrontation served as a lasting acknowledgement of the Ojibwe's rightful claim to defend their lands and a silent recognition of the change sparked by their stand. This pivotal moment in Ojibwe history became a profound chapter of their resilience, one that highlighted their quest for dignity, autonomy, and justice within their own homeland. Thank you for watching the video until the end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any new videos from us. What do you think about today's topic? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found the video helpful, feel free to share it with your friends and family. We hope you had a great time. See you in the next video with even more exciting content. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out.